Well, hello and good morning, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Dr. Childress here. So, every Sunday, I talk about some aspect of court involved family custody conflict. And in this particular video, I want to speak directly to the court involved family therapists and the GALs who are working with the family courts and the children. Now, my assumption is that as a family therapist or GAL involved in child custody conflict, that there's a parent who's asked you to watch this video regarding court-involved family conflict and your role because that parent wants to restore a normal range and healthy attachment bond to their child. And so to tell you a little bit about my background, I'm a court-involved clinical psychologist. I've been in the family courts for about 15 years. And I have background expertise in a number of relevant domains, including attachment pathology and delusional thought disorders and family systems kind of work. And my current role is to serve as a consultant in clinical psychology to the parents and to the courts regarding court involved child custody matters. And so that's where you and I, as the involved family therapist and the GAL for the family, may ultimately have some interaction, some contact, hopefully some collaboration in resolving the family conflict. So one of the parents, typically the targeted parent, will bring me in as a consultant to help ensure that the child receives an accurate diagnosis and an effective treatment plan. Now, with court-involved pathology, I have two clients, and I would offer that we all have two clients, you as a family therapist and as the GAL, that first off, we have the child as our client. And when I'm involved in a family, the child's always my client. And my role with the child is to ensure that the child receives an accurate diagnosis for the problem. My second role as a consultant is to ensure that the child receives an effective treatment plan that resolves the family problem. And then third, that the child will ultimately, to ensure that the child has a normal range and healthy childhood. So that's my focus relative to the parent. And while the parent may bring me in as the consultant in clinical psychology, I don't see necessarily my role as working for the parent as much as working for the child in ensuring that we receive an accurate diagnosis, effective treatment plan. The child has a normal and healthy range childhood. And in doing that, I then serve the client parent, and then I serve the client parent's attorney. And so we have everybody satisfied if I can help ensure that for the child. And I would offer that those are your obligations as well. As a guardian, you've been appointed to take care of the child and ensure that the child receives an accurate diagnosis, an effective treatment plan, and has a normal range childhood. And I would offer that it's not your obligation as the GAL in your role to make the diagnosis or to provide the treatment plan. It's to ensure that that gets accomplished. In addition, we all have a second client when the child and the family conflict is court involved, and that's the court. And so our obligation to the court is to ensure, again, that the court has an accurate diagnosis of the child and family conflict for the decision making surrounding the child. So to begin with, the pathology we're working with is an attachment pathology. That's the category of the pathology. A child rejecting a parent is an attachment pathology, a problem in the love and bonding system of the brain. And the attachment system, excuse me, is the brain system responsible for governing all aspects of love and bonding throughout the lifespan, including grief and loss. And that grief and loss component becomes important relative to the treatment. One of the primary issues around attachment pathology is that the attachment system, the love and bonding system, is developing its patterns for bonding. It's what are called internal working models during childhood that will then be used throughout the lifespan to guide all aspects of love and bonding. And here's a quote from John Bowlby, his second volume, Separation and Anxiety, which is what we're dealing with, separation, anxiety, and anger. No variables, it is held, have more far-reaching effects on personality development than have a child's experience within the family for starting during the first months of his relationships with his mother figure and extending throughout the years of childhood and adolescence in his relationship with both parents. He builds up working models for how attachment figures are likely to behave towards him in any of a variety of situations. And on those models are based all of his expectations and therefore all of his plans for the rest of his life. And so that's an important understanding that this particular period right now, the court holds the child's life in the court's decision making. And this could go very badly or very well based on how we as the professionals respond to that situation. And this is not a custody issue, this is a treatment issue. It's in the family courts, but the family courts deal with crimes and legal issues. This is a pathology. A child rejecting a parent is a pathology. We need to get an accurate diagnosis of which parent is causing that pathology and then treat it effectively, resolve it, because the child's life hangs in the balance of our ability to do that. So the first thing I want to emphasize about the pathology in the family courts is that we're worried about child abuse and that duty to protect obligations are active for all the involved professionals. And that's for all the involved mental health professionals, but I'd also suggest the guardian ad litem has duty to protect obligations relative to their guardian child. The only cause of severe attachment pathology, a child rejecting a parent, is child abuse by one parent or the other. So either the targeted parent is abusing the child in some way and thereby creating the child's attachment bond towards the other parent, or the allied parent is psychologically abusing the child by creating a shared or induced persecutory delusion and false, factitious attachment pathology in the child for secondary gain to the parent. So let me just say a little bit about that right now. Is the attachment system is a motivational system. All motivational systems have direction. Eating, pain, pleasure, sex, attachment, they all motivate towards a direction. And the reason for attachment bonding motivation is because the other motivational direction is death by starvation and predation. And that's the origins of a very strong motivational system for attachment bonding. So when the child's symptoms reflect a desire to flee a parent or to escape the parent, reject a parent, the only cause of that is abusive range parenting from that parent, or it's a false pathology. It's a factitious attachment pathology being imposed on the child for secondary gain to the parent in the family courts. So there's our differential diagnosis on attachment pathology, on the child's symptoms, and which parent is causing the problem. And so in all of these court-involved custody cases, when a child is rejecting a parent, we need to get a proper risk assessment for child abuse, and that needs to be conducted to the appropriate differential diagnoses for each parent. So you see there for the targeted parent, we might be worried about physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect abuse, or psychological abuse. What is causing the child to want to flee and escape that parent and not bond into that parent? Or is a aligned parent psychologically abusing the child by creating a delusional disorder, shared persecutory type? There's your DSM-5 diagnosis. A factitious disorder imposed on another, that would be the factitious attachment pathology imposed on the child for secondary gain to the parent. There's your DSM-5 diagnosis number. Either one or both of those is child psychological abuse. So we have abuse allegations on both sides by both parents going back and forth. And a fourth dangerous pathology of concern, because we have duty to protect for everybody, is possible spousal or partner abuse of the targeted parent by the allied parent using the child as a weapon. So we have two different possibilities here of one parent or the other producing the child's pathology. And typically, the allied parent gets a lot of focus because the child's symptoms and are implying that the other parent is abusive, and everybody's coming in to assess for that. And so what the targeted parent will often do, or sometimes do, is bring me in as a consultant to help balance the professional uh, diagnosis and treatment plan surrounding the family to make sure that we get an accurate diagnosis and that the court's not being manipulated, the professional's not being manipulated by a narcissistic, borderline, dark personality parent, particularly the dark personalities, dark triad, vulnerable dark triad, dark tetrad. So I'm brought in as a consultant to help make sure that we get an accurate diagnosis and effective treatment plan, which may then place me into contact with you as a consultant, and hopefully we can develop some sort of collaborative relationship to ensure that we get an accurate diagnosis and effective treatment plan. The court gets accurate information surrounding the family. So these are the four questions that need to be answered with every family. And so for the GAL, this is what you need to get from your mental health people. You need to get an assessment, a clinical diagnostic assessment for the child and family that answers these four questions. And for the involved family therapist, you need to answer these four questions. That's your duty of care obligation. And this is DSM-5 diagnoses. And this is a differential diagnosis involved. The court needs an answer to this. Your treatment plan is going to need an answer to these four questions. So first, is the targeted parent abusing the child in some way? And if yes, then specify the type of abuse. We'll put it on a treatment plan, we'll fix it, and we'll restore attachment bonding once we fix the abusive parent. So is there physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect abuse, psychological abuse? Identify what it was, diagnose it using the DSM-5, and let's put it on a treatment plan. Or is the allied parent psychologically abusing the child by creating a shared persecutory delusion in the child? The additional concern is whether the allied parent is psychologically abusing the child by creating a false or factitious attachment pathology in the child for secondary gain to the parent. And those are yes/no questions. We need answers to those. And then the fourth question there is whether the allied parent is using the child as a weapon of psychological spousal abuse of the targeted parent. And so you notice each one of those questions is about abuse. And so duty to protect obligations are active for all the mental health professionals regarding this. And we need to get a proper risk assessment for possible child abuse relative to the family involvement. And I want to highlight the role of consultation in professional psychology to help ensure that accurate diagnosis, because that's what I'm brought in as a consultant on this because of my specialized expertise in a number of domains. And so this is from Improving Diagnosis in Healthcare from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. And this is up on the web. You can search for it. Excuse me. Clinicians may refer to or consult with other clinicians, formally or informally, to seek additional expertise about a patient's health problem. The consult may help to confirm or reject the working diagnosis or may provide information on potential treatment options. Clinicians can also recommend that the patient seek a second opinion from another clinician to verify their impressions of an uncertain diagnosis or if they believe this would be helpful to the patient. So this is my role. is that I'm a second opinion consultant. I'm brought in by the targeted parent, and I'll look at the diagnosis. What's the diagnosis? What are the symptoms? And does it all make sense? What's the treatment plan relative to the diagnosis to improve the quality of healthcare services being delivered to the client family, the targeted parent, and to the courts, because the court needs accurate information about this. And so, as I'm brought in as a second opinion consultant, I would like to develop a collaborative relationship to all the other professionals so that we can all work towards that same goal of, of ensuring that the child and the family have an accurate diagnosis and that we get an effective treatment plan to resolve the issue and that the court has accurate information for its decision making. And I have additional resources you can go to and watch as I'm entering a case, or if you want to know more about the pathology in the family courts. I would suggest I have a series of YouTube videos up regarding I call it the Diagnostic series. And so I'm going through the diagnosis from various perspectives. And this is at a professional level. So one is on the DSM-5 diagnosis of family court pathology. We all need to anchor in the DSM-5, please. No new made-up pathology labels, no parental alienation or resist refuse, or no made-up labels. DSM-5, please. And so that describes the DSM-5 diagnosis of concern. Then I have another YouTube seminar on diagnosing a persecutory delusion, another one on diagnosing a factitious attachment pathology imposed on the child, a factitious disorder imposed on the child, and then another on diagnosing child abuse in the family courts. And so I recommend that professionals watch those videos, but those are available to you as well. As I'm on Blue Sky, and you can follow me on Blue Sky, and I'll be speaking about family court pathology there as well. In addition, I would recommend a book, Tronic and Gold, The Power of Discord. This is the most advanced information on attachment and attachment pathology. And one of the important considerations with attachment pathology is that we always repair attachment relationships. We always fix them. The worst possible thing we can do for attachment pathology is leave a breached attachment bond unrepaired. That's what they refer to, Tronic refers to as the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The ugly is leaving a breached attachment bond unrepaired. That's the worst thing we can do. We always want to fix that breached attachment bond. And so I recommend familiarity with that from Tronic and Gold. And then as closing here, I just want to reemphasize again that we all have two clients in this matter. We need to bring the fighting, the professional fighting around these children to an end. That's why I strongly recommend we all use the DSM-5 for our discussions so that we're all on the same professional level and professional page regarding our description of the pathology. And so I would offer that we all have the same two clients in this matter. The child, to ensure that a child gets an accurate diagnosis, and I don't care what it is. I don't care which parent is abusing the child. I just need to know which one, because then we can put it on a treatment plan and fix it, and protect the child from that parent. The other obligation we have is to fix the problem. The legal system, let me speak about that for a second. The legal system lands on the wrong end point. It lands on the court's custody decision, whereas the healthcare system lands on treatment. And that's where we ultimately need to land. The pathological, narcissistic, borderline, dark personality parent drives us into the wrong system for a solution. This is not a crime. This is a pathology. It needs to be in the healthcare system to get a diagnosis and treatment, but they're making it about custody. So this needs to get out to the healthcare system. We need to get an accurate diagnosis, develop a treatment plan for that diagnosis, then offer the diagnosis and the treatment plan to the court for its consideration. Now, the appellates, this is going to be a disputed diagnosis. That's just a fact because it's in the legal system, and we got two personality problem people, or at least one personality problem people. So we're going to have a disputed diagnosis. And the appellate system in healthcare for a disputed diagnosis is second opinion. And so we need to start getting second opinion consultations on this. And so that's my role. I'm brought in, and hopefully I can provide that in a collaborative way in the cases I'm involved in. Or you can reach out to me, even if I'm not personally involved in the case, for a consultation. I'd be happy to consult with you about an issue or problem and help frame up how to approach the diagnosis or the treatment plan or whatever the issue is there. But we need to start bringing second opinion consultations into the family courts all the time, because this will be a disputed diagnosis. And the professionals need to stop fighting around the child. And we need to come together, diagnose the problem, treat the problem. This is child abuse. We need to stop the child abuse and protect the child. We need to identify which one is abusing the child. And so with that, I'm hoping that we can develop a collaborative relationship going forward, in service to the child and the child's needs for a normal range childhood, and in service to the court. We have two clients, and our obligation is to get the court accurate information on which to rely for its decision making. So with that, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this video. And I thank you on behalf of the parent who's asked you to watch this. And if I can be of any help or assistance, you can feel free to get a hold of me here. There's my consulting website. You can go to as information on that. My email address if you want to get a hold of me for a consult or something. And then you can follow me on Blue Sky. So with that, take care, everybody, and I'll talk to you next week about some other aspect of court-involved family conflict.